Sir, I think you're on mute po.
Nakamute ba ako? Ayan, ayan. Hello, hello. Sorry, ayan. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Ilan po lahat ang participants natin ngayon? Okay, sige. Kasi ano tayo, no? Social distancing talaga. Pero ano naman, napakaganda ng ating ang ating objective for this kasi gusto pala natin magkaroon ng local ordinance for CAPIN. Okay, sige po. So I was tasked to discuss resource mobilization. So nakikita niyo po ba ngayon yung aking PowerPoint? Okay, sige. Okay, pero bago tayo magsimula, kasi konti lang naman tayo, baka pwede tayong magpakilala. So, nickname at saka anong organization tayo galing?
Good morning po sa lahat. Ako po si Pete Altar from St. Anthony's College.
Okay.
Good morning po sa lahat. I am Mrs. Maria Elena Rivero, National District Coordinator of Sunset District, coming from the Philanthropy.
Okay, sige. Sa Antique po kayo, no? Tama ba? Yes, okay. Sige.
Right now, let's foundation programs.
Okay.
For me, I'm a part of team of youth and
Okay. Okay, sige. So, parang ano tayo, no? Ang mga participants natin ngayon ay kasama sa may mga non-profit organizations. Tama ba? Meron akong narinig na coming from a government agency? Oh, siguro naman kasi maggagawa tayo ng ordinance eh. Anyway, sige po. So resource mobilization yung pag-uusapan natin ngayong araw at ito po yung inihanda kong presentation para sa inyo, no? So the first objective of this session is to elaborate the basic concepts and principles of resource mobilization. So ang primary objective natin ay gusto natin malaman paano ba nag-mobilize ng resources at ano yung mga concepts and principles behind this, no? Especially for non-profit organizations. And then later this morning, we will have a stakeholder analysis or stakeholder mapping, katulad ng sabi ni Claire, so that we will be able to gain understanding dun sa various actors in our resource mobilization efforts, no? So I understand na nasa tayo, no, child welfare, parang child protection yung ating program. So I'll be sharing something that I hope would be relevant to you para matulungan, no, kung paano natin masusuportahan ng ating programa. So ito po yung ating themes in resource mobilization. So, ang resource mobilization po, ang ibig sabihin niyan is the ability to acquire resources and mobilize people towards the furtherance of goals. So, hindi lang po pera ang pinag-uusapan natin kapag resource mobilization ang tinutukoy, no? We are also talking about we are talking about resources in general. So, meron tayong financial at meron tayong non-financial resources, and we use this to achieve our goals, no? And resource mobilization is also composed of a core group of sophisticated strategists that work towards wealth generation through entrepreneurship, no? So mayroong level ng pagiging innovative at pag-apply ng management skills when we talk about resource mobilization, kasi hindi ito a one-time thing lang, no? Resource mobilization is a very crucial part for sustainability. So in contrast naman to fundraising, kasi usually na pag-i-interchange ang fundraising at saka resource mobilization. So fundraising is a kind of resource mobilization, pero ang fundraising kasi mas nag-focus siya on solicitation methods, no? Requesting donations from individuals, businesses, charitable foundations, or government agencies. Tapos, this also refer to identification and solicitation of investors and other sources of capital for for-profit enterprises, no? Pero ang fundraising kasi usually ito ay short-lived lang or temporary siya. So, yan yung pagko-contrast lang ng resource mobilization at saka ng fundraising. Okay? So kung meron kayong mga gustong itanong sa akin at mag-comment, you can actually just raise your hand at siguro one of our facilitators will go near you and you may ask me your questions. Okay? So mayroon tayong tatlong broad categories in terms of the themes in resource mobilization. So the first one is capturing existing wealth from the public and private donors. So anong ibig sabihin nito? Mayroon tayong mayroon ng existing na resources na pwede tayong ma-capture. Hindi na kinakailangan mag-create pa, okay? So creation yung second part, no, which is generating new wealth through market-based approaches. So yung capturing existing wealth, typically hindi siya market-based. Pag hindi siya market-based, ibig sabihin walang nagaganap na pagbebenta o pagbili, no? Pero sa generating new wealth through market-based approaches, dahil ito ay market-based, mayroong trade and exchange na nagaganap, which means may nagbebenta at may bumibili, no, to be able to raise the resource that we need. And then the last one is capitalizing on non-financial resources, yung non-monetary, kasi marami actually sa mga resources natin ay non-monetary at very crucial pa rin ito sa ating program. Okay, so sa capturing existing wealth muna tayo. So ito yung iba't ibang klase ng pag-mobilize ng resources sa category ng capturing existing wealth. So the first one is individual philanthropy. Then we have foundation funding, building grassroots citizens organization, public resources from the government, resources of development assistance agencies, at saka corporate social responsibility. So, iisa-isahin po natin itong mga ito at sana po ay marapatin ninyo na yung i-share ko sa inyo ngayon ay base sa aking karanasan kasi sa tingin ko mas maganda na nanggagaling mismo sa karanasan ng isang trainer yung kanyang ibinabahagi para talagang buhay na buhay, di ba? So para rin pag nagtanong kayo mamaya ay mas masasagot ko. At syempre ibabahagi ko rin yung mga nalalaman ko as in my experience as a development worker, no? Yun, alam ko mukha akong bata, joke, pero 20 years na po ako sa development work. Ayan, okay, sige, kung magsimula tayo at magtatanong muna ako sa inyo, gaano kayo kadalas mag-donate sa kahit anong kahit anong purpose or cause? Gaano kayo kadalas mag-donate? Ha? Oo, gaano kadalas? How often do you donate? Sino pong gustong sumagot? Sa simbahan, hindi kayo nagdo-donate?
This is the microphone.
Paggamit na lang po ng microphone kasi hindi ko po marinig. Ayan.
Terms of donation po, because of since we are in a school, we use the funds of the school, especially the funds just like social corporate social responsibility for projects in volunteers, like protective programs for COVID-19 pandemic victims, and trainings in volunteering, and those programs related to employment for working with
Okay, sige. So, pero parang yung kinukwento niyo po sa akin ngayon ay ano, no, on a organizational level. I'm asking on a personal level. How often do you donate?
personal level. I usually donate to Red Cross.
Wow,
And
okay.
foundation.
Gaano po kadalas sa Red Cross?
Invitations like once or twice a year.
Wow, once or twice a year. Okay. Any other experience in terms of donating? I think ngayong pandemic, no, marami tayong karanasan sa pagdo-donate ngayon. Who else have personal experience in terms of donating? Okay. Claire, pwede mo bang ibigay sa akin sa chat natin yung mga pangalan ng mga participants para tatawagin ko sila? Total, less than 10 naman sila.
Sir. Okay, good morning again. In my case naman po, facing personally, twice po kami nag-donate ng aking mga kapatid ng rice and sardines sa aming munting community. Most especially our neighborhoods namin sa kapilangan ng rice sa pandemic.
Okay, so thank you very much, no? So ayun, at least meron tayong karanasan sa pagdo-donate kasi isa ito sa mga paraan na kilala, especially for non-for-profit organizations at saka sa mga advocacy groups or civic organizations that's yun yung sinusubukan yung i-form, ay donation parati yung default na tinitignan. Pero usually kasi kapag donation, meron tayong tinatawag na donors fatigue, di ba? Di naman po pwede na every day or every week tayo na nagbibigay ng donation na sizable amount, no, to support the causes. That's why we have to look for other ways of raising, no, resources. So yung una nating titignan ay yung individual philanthropy, no? So you see here, Consuelo Foundation is actually an example of an individual philanthropic resource mobilization kasi coming from the wealth of one person yung pinanggalingan yan. So yung Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation din is another example of an individual philanthropy where si Bill and Melinda Gates, they donated part of their wealth to this foundation, and now this foundation are supporting a lot of causes, no, here even here in the Philippines and around the world. So yan yung isang example ng individual philanthropy. So you can actually, yung pong pagdodonate natin na tayo mismo, that is also classified as individual philanthropy. Okay? Tapos meron din tayong tinatawag na official development assistance. So itong official development assistance, nagse-set aside ng budget ang mga bansa, no, typically sila yung mga developed countries, to provide aid to developing countries. So nakikita nyo dito ngayon, meron tayong example, no, sa GIZ, which is the German International Cooperation. Tapos we have the British Council and USAID. No? So currently kami ngayon, we are working with the Italian International Cooperation. No? So with the official development assistance, what they do is they create programs Tapos yung programs na yon ay i-implement doon sa developing countries. So in our case, yung program namin is in partnership with the Department of Agrarian Reform. Kumuha ng loan ang Department of Agrarian Reform sa Italian cooperation. Tapos yun yung pondo ngayon na ginagamit namin to implement projects for peace process and livelihood and sustainable agriculture in conflict areas in Mindanao sa Sultan Kudarat, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao at saka sa Sarangani provinces. So yan yung sa ODA ang tawag. And then we also have what we call NGO financing. So, ang NGO financing, meron tayo for or international donors or locals din. So, they provide grant money, guarantees, they support advocacies or capacity building and technical assistance like what we are doing now, and equipment. So, yan yung pwedeng makuha natin from NGOs who provide support. At ang napapansin namin na na parating theme ng mga NGOs would fall under these three broad categories on poverty reduction, gender empowerment, and environment, specifically focusing on the climate crisis. So ang dapat na gagawin natin dito if we are to propose for funding from NGOs, ay i-align natin yung program natin para maipakita na yung targets or objectives noong NGO ay matutulungan natin silang ma-reach yon if they support us. Okay? So, yun. So, for foundation funding, ito naman po yung mga karanasan namin. No? So, for Cord Aid, this is a Dutch NGO na nag-provide sa amin ng loan to support our microfinance operations and also the development of our migration program for OFWs. Ganun din yun sa Oxfam. Yung iba naman po dito ay sa World Wildlife Fund, Mercy Corps, sa Plan International ay supporting micro-enterprise development. Very, very, I think, very relatable sa inyo yung project namin before with Plan International kasi yung Plan International, we supported their program na sinusuportahan yung mga magulang ng mga anak na pinoprotektahan ng Plan International kasi ang Plan International ay nasa din, di ba, nasa nasa child welfare din siya. So ang ginawa namin doon is we provided capacity building for the parents of those who are under the parents of the children who are under the Plan International program. Okay? So yun. And then we also have corporate social responsibility. So we have the PTC group. We've worked with the PBSP. Ang PBSP po, the Philippine Business Social Progress, is the para siyang NGO na binuo ng mga corporations, at ang mga corporations nagpapamiyembro doon and then they donate to PBSP a part of their net income. And then PBSP now uses that to fund projects. So I'm sure meron silang program for children, protection of children dito sa PBSP. And itong mga organizations na to malalaki, like for example, Shell, Jollibee, mga malalaki natin, Petron, yung mga brands na malalaki are part of PBSP. So this could be one channel for you also to mobilize resources. Okay? So that's the corporate social responsibility. And typically, ang corporate social responsibility ay arm siya ng isang business, okay? To deal with the community. Usually, yun yung ginagawa ng corporate social responsibility. So we go now to the next category of resource mobilization, which is generating new wealth through market-based approaches. So ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina na may trade and exchange, no? May kailangan na pagbebenta at saka pagbili na nagaganap to be able to generate resources. Another way of doing this also is through debt conversion. And then another one is to establish operating a microfinance program, and also tapping social investment through the market. So yan po yung pangalawa, no, to mobilize resources for non-profit organization. Okay, so in terms naman sa inyong organization, may I ask po, what are the sources of income of your organization? Saan po kayo kumukuha ng panggastos ninyo sa organization ninyo?
Okay. In terms of our organization in the NetEd, our source of income aside from the MOOE, we have our for special education fund from our local government.
Okay.
And other private partners, stakeholders, our community.
Okay. Sige. So meron tayong nakukuna, government agency ito, I suppose, kasi may MOOE, di ba? Sa ano yan maintenance, operating expenses yan sa government. Plus may private entity. So ano pa po yung mga sources natin ng income for your organization?
At the Sierra Foundation po, we are supported by another organization in the Netherlands, namely the Sick Verge. I don't know how to pronounce it well. And aside from that, we are also gaining sponsor or financial help from individual sponsors.
Okay. So may international NGO that supports you and also individual sponsors. Okay. Any other, ano?
So far, they don't receive any help from the government. So usually we receive funds from private individual.
Okay. Sige. Okay. Sige, yan yung ano natin, no, sa sources ng income ng organization. So mostly talaga nanggagaling pa from donation. So this is, papakita ko sa inyo yung ibang mga ways, no, specifically targeting yung low-income groups on how to mobilize resources. So this is what we do in SEDP. SEDP po yung organization namin. It stands for Social Enterprise Development Partnerships Incorporated, and we implement a micro-enterprise development program with financial literacy in Mindanao. So we have about 10,000 members in Agusan del Sur and Surigao del Sur. So what we do here is, the first step, we provide financial literacy trainings to our members, and then we introduce a joint venture partnership with them, no? So in typical organizations, ito yung mga microfinance institutions na magbibigay ng pautang sa mga members nila para gagamitin ng members nila for livelihood. So sa amin, instead po na loan, we provide joint venture capital, which transforms our relationship with the community, na instead na creditor-debtor relationship, we become business partners, no, ng kanilang business. And in that way, we share in the profit and losses of the business, rather than a creditor-debtor relationship na kami ay creditor, mas mataas kaysa sa debtor. Diba? Ganun yung dynamics ng creditor-debtor relationship. So we provide joint venture contribution to our members, and they implement their livelihood, no? So the joint venture capital grows, and it grows the micro enterprise. Tapos after that, we also provide them social safety nets, no? Life insurance coverage, access to government services, and damayan for fire and calamity. So yan yung ginagawa namin sa kanila. And then after this, our members now pay the joint venture capital, and they also provide a joint venture counterpart. So hindi po pwedeng sa amin lang manggagaling yung kapital. Dapat mayroon din sa kanila because we are business partners, no? Pero ang ang principle namin is kung sino yung mas nagtatrabaho doon sa business, siya dapat yung may mas malaking kinikita doon sa business. Unlike in the capitalist structure na kung magkano yung nilagay mong kapital, yun yung basehan ng kita. And to us, we think that if we use the capitalist structure in mobilizing, in implementing programs and mobilizing resources, ay hindi oppressive siya, no? Kumbaga. Kasi if you take a look at this one, 90% of the funds would come from us, and then 10% would come from the from the members. Yung mga members po namin, by the way, are mostly women. Mostly women sila kasi kapag women yung in-empower natin, parang mas fruitful yung development na nangyayari sa family, no? And so kapag capitalist yung pinag-usapan natin, 90% ng kita mapupunta dapat sa amin, tapos 10% ng kita lang kay nanay. Pero for us, hindi yun just kasi si nanay yung nagtatrabaho ng araw-araw doon sa business na itinayo. At kami ay magkasosyo lamang. So in that way, baliktad. Kahit na 90% yung binigay namin na kapital, we get the lesser share of the profits. So baliktad siya. So 90-10 in terms of capital sharing, pero sa profit sharing, sa amin, we keep 10%, sila, they keep 90%. Okay? So this is one innovation that we did in terms of livelihood programs. And when we did this, what we realized ay mas naging committed yung mga nanay sa amin. Kasi nga, business partner kami eh. Hindi kami na nila tinignan na creditor na nagpapautang. Pero kami ay business partner. So, yan po yung so we do what we call grassroots-led financing. And in our joint ventures, yung micro-entrepreneurs natin ay kasama natin, kasosyo natin. And they, in our fundraising, half nung funds na ginagamit namin para i-implement yung program, matulungan sila, ay nanggaling sa kanila mismo. Kasi what happens is, kung may extra si nanay, instead na i-keep niya yung money niya sa bahay, ay binibigay niya as additional joint venture contribution sa amin. And in that way, kami naman ngayon ay nagagamit namin yon para matulungan yung ibang mga community members pa, no? Para ma-expand yung program. So ito, ang gusto kong i-emphasize dito sa inyo is that the poor, when given the opportunity and the proper infrastructure and programs, they would be able to help themselves. So in this way, makikita ninyo, kalahati ng pondo ay nanggaling sa community, kalahati ay nanggaling sa amin. So 19 million yung galing sa as of 2020 sa community, 20.9 million naman yung nanggaling sa amin. And that is a very, very clear message na kayang-kaya ng mga mahihirap tulungan ang sarili nila kung maayos yung programa at pagkakadesenyo ng programa na binibigay natin sa kanila. Okay? So, if you have questions, you can ask me anytime. So, this is my main message here. The marginalized sectors can help themselves, no? Dapat let us stop looking at them as being dependent from us, because bumababa din yung tingin nila sa sarili nila kapag dependent yung tingin natin sa kanila. So let us find ways na matutulungan natin sila na tulungan nila yung sarili nila so that they can stand on their own. Okay? So yan yung at ito yung impact na aming programa last year. So 70% nag-report na may improvement in education, improvement in business, improvement in nutrition. So nakikita talaga yung impact. So this is one aspect of resource mobilization also that you have to be very conscious, no? The impact side. Kasi of course your partners, your stakeholders would be very interested in knowing what's happening, no? Doon sa kanilang sinusuportahan na cause sa inyo. And so doon sa pinakita namin kanina is a way for ensuring family security of the family, no? Food, maski sa housing, ganyan, no? Kasi a lot of the problems na na-encounter natin kapag child abuse nangyayari, more often than not, meron diyang economic challenges, hindi po ba? Kaya maganda na our program can also touch on the security of the family. Okay? So, kami, ang binibigay namin na social safety nets, no, for our members at the family level ay tinatawag namin na social welfare protection program. So if we protect the head of the family and we provide them with economic opportunities, then they will be able to take care better of their children, di ba? So itong social welfare protection program namin is a consolidated microinsurance and social safety net program that provides security and protection to our members. Tapos ang ginawa namin dito, pinaghalo-halo namin yung mga indigenous practices natin in terms of social protection, ano naman yung regulated or commercial social protection, and then government social insurance programs. So here, we are emphasizing that to protect the marginalized sectors, hindi kaya na private sector lang, civil society lang, or government lang. These three units should come together, no, and empower the family. Kasi that's the way that we are able to address yung mga problems natin as a community. So ano yung SWEP? Gaya ng sabi ko kanina, this is may life insurance coverage dito. We provide access to government services to our members because ang paniniwala ng SEDP ay dapat ang mga nasa laylayan ng lipunan ang mga mauunang nakakatanggap ng biyaya, no, ng benepisyo mula sa gobyerno. Pero unfortunately ay mahirap yung pag-access nila. Ang nauuna ay middle class, which is hindi naman masama, pero tingin namin dapat nauuna yung mga nasa baba. And then we also practice our indigenous practice for damayan, no, for fire and calamity, for external events. Okay? So, yun. So, ang una namin is we partnered with Climb. So, market-based approach ito because yung Climb's insurance is a cooperative life and general insurance organization, no? At licensed siya ng Insurance Commission. And we provide insurance to our members up to 80,000 pesos per member. Okay? So talagang nasa maliit na amount tayo kasi yan naman din po yung market na tinitingnan natin. And then we also partnered with Social Security System kasi sa Social Security System po ay we partnered as a collection agent, And ang isang contribution lang, so magpa-member tayo sa SSS, tapos magbigay tayo ng isang contribution, tayo po ay covered na ng 20,000 pesos na death benefit. So in this way, we are able to access resources from the government without resorting to solicitation from our politicians, di ba? Na kapag may namamatay, meron tayong letter kay congressman, kay mayor, kay governor, hanggang kay kagawad sa barangay. So with this, we are able to lessen that at nababawasan yung patronage politics din, no? And then, one contribution lang every 6 months ay mayroon ka ng sickness benefit. So with our partnership with SSS, instead na 360 per month yung minimum, ay 240 pesos lang yung minimum na contribution. Okay? And then 120 contributions, nandiyan na po, pwede na tayong monthly, no? Mag-monthly sa ating, magkaroon ng monthly pension. Pero ang difference din ng ginagawa namin for our members, kapag may manamatay, ay binibigay na namin agad yung 20,000 pesos. Instead na mag-antay kami kay SSS, no, for the claim. Kasi usually kapag nag-claim kay SSS, it will take about 2 to 3 months pa. So, magre-resort na naman sa pangungutang yung mga members namin sa pagpapalibing and all that. So, ang agreement namin with SSS, kami yung magbibigay ng paunang amount, and then kami na lang yung mag-aantay sa SSS, no, na claim ng member namin. Because our belief also is that hindi dapat nag-aantay ang mga mahihirap kasi sila yung most vulnerable. So if we are an organization that could provide support na hindi sila mag-antay, then we do that for them. Okay? And then there's also, of course, maternity benefit for SSS. And I think that's a crucial component for your child welfare program. So sa Pag-ibig din, kami ay collection agent. Ang naman namin, no, concession namin sa Pag-ibig ay instead na 100 pesos ang aming contribution, ang mga members namin ay 20 pesos lang per month ang kanilang kino-contribute. Kasi sabi namin, hindi kaya mag-save ng mga members namin ng 100 pesos per month. And Pag-ibig agreed to this because we have 10,000 members na sabi namin, dadalhin namin itong 10,000 members na ito sa inyong lahat. And we will be the one collecting at hindi na kayo pupunta doon. So they agreed because nakita nila yung benefit, no? And another thing, ito naman ay mag-contribute lang yung mga members namin ng 20 pesos every 6 months for their contribution. Covered na sila ng 6,000 pesos death benefit ng Pag-ibig. So, yun, no? Ganun din, pino-forward din namin yung 6,000 pesos kapag namatay yung member namin para hindi mangutang yung member. So, if you take a look at this, 26,000 plus 80,000. So, 6,000 pesos yung nakukuha ng member namin for the social safety nets, no? And what's also interesting here is we do socialized housing with Pag-ibig for our members. At ang interest rate nito ay 3% per annum lamang. Basta below 580,000 pesos yung kanilang yung kanilang bahay na ipapatayo. So we've already purchased lots for this one, no? Inabutan nga lang kami ng pandemic kaya yung development ay medyo naantala po. So ito yung benefits na nabibigay sa mga members namin, no? At meron din dyan on fire, damayan ang ginagamit natin dyan, at saka calamity, no, na relief goods. Because we think that these are protection that we could provide to our members, no, sa families nila, so that to make them at least less vulnerable. So this one doesn't come for free, no? Meron tayong membership fee. Kaya nga ito ay creating new wealth yung ating nakakategorize siya under that resource mobilization. So ito ay 360 pesos per year yung membership. And then ang SSS naman ay 240 pesos, covered na yung funeral benefit. Sa pag-ibig naman ay 20 pesos every 6 months para makuha yung death benefit. So yan yung yan yung membership fees natin. So yung inyong organization could actually implement, no, pag nagawa na yan, could implement this SWEP program para sa mga magiging members nito and in the communities where it operates. And if you want to enter into partnership with us, we could certainly entertain that. Okay? So another part naman for the creating new wealth is on the private sector side, no? Pwede tayong kumuha ng pro bono services from banks, law firms, accountancy firms, and the academe. So ito yung natin, meron tayong yung traditional business as market or buyers of goods, tapos banks din, no? So ito yung mga pwede nating pagkunan ng resources from the private sector. So ito, for example, sa Ateneo Center for Social Entrepreneurship at saka sa Pricewaterhousecoopers, we had a program with them before to provide capacity building trainings on social entrepreneurship, no? All over the Philippines. So pro bono yon na services na nakuha namin. Nagbigay ng trainers, yung PwC. Okay. Sa banks naman, BPI, Land Bank, BPP. So you could access funding, no, from the banks. Pero of course, when you access funding from the banks, usually loan yan at kailangan nating bayaran with interest. So unless gagamitin natin siya for an enterprise development, hindi advisable that we get funding, no, from the banks na kukuha tayo ng loan. Ayun. Okay. So let me just share this example to you naman. Yung sa natin, we kasi mobilize social investments. We mobilize social investments from social investors, no? From yung organization namin was established in 2004, and from 2004 to 2019, we were able to mobilize 33.8 million pesos in terms of social investments. And yung social investors namin ay 556, no? So for the past 15 years yon. And then the pandemic came. So akala namin pagdating ng pandemic ay mas mahihirapan yung aming business model, because we mobilize social investments and then we use those social investments to support cooperatives and microfinance NGOs all over the Philippines. And we train overseas Filipino workers and mga earning Filipinos, and then after that we encourage them to invest with us. So hindi na kami maka-travel to do the training, so namroblema kami, parang oh no, baka mawala na, we would not be able to mobilize resources anymore. So we pivoted and we converted our trainings into online sessions, at saka nag-market din kami through Facebook Live. And it was very surprising kasi from 33.8 million pesos na 2019 na na-mobilize namin na pondo, naging 67.9 million na siya ngayong 2020. And our social investors almost tripled from 556 to 1,431. So we almost tripled our social investors in the past 15 years in just 9 months, no, through digital strategies. And we also doubled our total socially responsible investments mobilized in the past 15 years in just 9 months. And this is because we were sped up by the pandemic to adopt digital strategies. So you can also certainly take advantage of the online presence of everyone to talk about your advocacy, your cause, at kung paano nila kayo susuportahan. So sa amin, what's been the successful formula is providing our investors with with relevant information and stories that they can relate to encourage them to invest. So nasa storytelling yung key in terms of resource mobilization such as this one. Okay. And then we also have the public sector. So financing for capacity building is included here. Building support systems and policy development also, no? Specifically yung ginagawa ninyo ngayon na gagawa ng local ordinance is part of policy development. So when we engage with the government, we have to make sure that we are making services accessible to everyone. No? Hindi tayo nagdi-discriminate. So we can make use of infrastructure or community spaces. We can make use of the information coming from the government. We can ask them to support our advocacy campaigns. At pwede rin tayong manghiram, no, ng mga equipment sa kanila. So on our end, in our socialized housing program, we are in partnership with the local government na ipapahiram yung equipment ng government sa amin para gawin yung land preparation para pagtatayuan ng bahay ng mga members namin. So pwede pala yun, no? Maski yung mga daan ay pwedeng i-request sa kanila. Of course, capacity building is included here. So these are the government agencies that we have worked with so far. Ang pinaka malapit kami ay ang Department of Agrarian Reform. Okay, pero when we engage with the government, typically kasi ay bidding process yan eh. So kailangan po ay PhilJEPs registered tayo to be able to take advantage of these opportunities from the government. Tapos kami din, as SEDP, we engage with the government. We sign memorandum of agreements with them. Kasi nga, yun ang realization namin ay hindi talaga kakayanin na kami lang yung gumagalaw as the private sector. We need the resources from the government and also support from civil society. Okay? So we go to the last category of resource mobilization, which is capitalizing on non-financial resources. So here we talk about volunteerism, counterparts, and so here I'm showing you the social enterprise ecosystem in terms of mobilizing resources. So when we engage the public sector and the private sector, ang tawag po dyan ay public-private partnership. Pero pag public sector naman at saka civil society, usually donors yan, no? At saka grant funding. Pag private sector and civil society, that is a corporate social responsibility. And yung intersect po ng tatlong lahat yan, that is where social entrepreneurship could come in. Because social enterprises are businesses that have social and environmental agenda, and they usually engage the private, public, and the civil society sectors para to achieve their goals. Okay? So what are our keys to attracting? In terms of engaging with the government, we have to emphasize the public benefit of our program, and this should be in line with the local and the national development agenda. Sa NGOs naman, strong development focus and track record yung tinitignan natin. For banks, they take a look at profitability and banking relationship. And the fourth one, which is not very developed here in the Philippines, is mobilizing resources through the capital markets. Ito yung pwede tayong nagfo-float ng bonds at nag-register ng securities. No? So ito naman, ang kailangan natin ay compliance and registration of securities. So when we do resource mobilization, one of the things that we have to consider is to take stock of our own resources and ano ba yung development focus natin, and then we look outside and match that with what their development focus and the resources available to them. Kasi baka yung kulang natin na resources meron sa kanila at yung meron tayo wala sa kanila. And if we partner together, then we would be able to complete the resource needed, and together we can achieve our development goals. Okay, so here are some of my tips on resource mobilization. Unang-una po is to build and nurture relationships. So kami ngayon, for example, meron kaming mga difficult na clients. Pero we don't burn bridges. We make sure and try very hard to preserve the bridge. No? Hindi kami nagbo-burn talaga ng bridge. So building and nurturing relationships. And then offer your products or service or your outputs. No? Ano ba yung outputs ng program ninyo? Instead of soliciting or asking for funds. So rather than asking for funds from the government, or the LGU, or an NGO, ang pwede mong i-highlight ay ano yung outputs ng iyong activity. How many children will benefit from this program? How many children will be protected, no? And assured of safe environment because of your program. Tapos, usually, ang ginagawa namin dyan ay dinidivide namin siya with our stakeholders, kunwari sa budget. So, ang budget natin, for example, ay feeding program for children, for example. Tapos, ang budget ay 5 pesos per child. Mapapakain na natin siya ng breakfast. I don't even know if that's possible. Siguro sa probinsya kayang-kaya yan. Yun. And then, go for activity-based funding rather than projects. And then, after that, you scale up. Mas open ang mga donors for activity-based funding rather than full-blown projects, lalo na kapag nag-uumpisa pa lang. No? And then, tell your story. Invest in documentation. So, ako po yun, madalas yun po yung isa sa mga gusto kong ginagawa, ay documenting feel-good stories coming from the grassroots. Kasi kapag ito yung ipinapakita namin sa mga social investors namin, they really become encouraged in supporting us further kasi nakikita nila na may napupuntahan yung kanilang social investment. And of course, the last one is, wala na po talaga tayong ligtas dito eh. We really have to go digital already, no? Yan na po yung katotohanan natin. Mukhang it will no longer leave us itong digital. Okay? And of course, the key for resource mobilization is huwag tayong magiging dependent sa iisang source lang ng income natin, no? As much as possible, we want to establish multiple resource streams para hindi tayo beholden sa iisang organization lamang, and we are able to sustain our operations better in this manner. Okay? So, meron po ba tayong tanong sa akin? I think let's use this time to to ask some questions from